I think most humans have in them the capacity to commit murder.
And that's when I decided I'm going to murder my mother.
Discover their horrifying crimes, reach inside into their disturbed minds, and where the pursuit of justice waged a constant battle against pure evil. Brace yourself for a journey into humanity's darkest moments. The infamous serial killer known across the world.
The name Jack the Ripper sends chills down the spine for a reason. This vicious killer stalked the streets of London's Whitechapel district in 1888, brutally murdering and mutilating 5 women, all of whom were prostitutes. The precision of the attacks, carried out with the skill of a trained surgeon or butcher, shocked even the most seasoned investigators. But what truly set Jack apart was the killer's audacity in taunting the police and the community, sending letters bragging about their heinous deeds. "Dear boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on whores and I shan't quit ripping them till I do get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle over the last job to write with, but it went thick like glue and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. The next job I do, I shall clip the lady's ears off and send to the police officers just for jolly, wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Good luck." There are several reasons why the killer was able to evade capture. Lack of forensic technology in 1888, poor police work, aka the Ripper's method of attack was highly unpredictable, and the killer was able to move around the Whitechapel district unnoticed, blending in with the crowds and avoiding detection. Despite years of investigation and countless suspects, Jack the Ripper's true identity remains a dark and twisted mystery, leaving a legacy of fear and horror that continues to grip the imagination of people worldwide. Jeffrey Dahmer started murdering when he was only 18 years old in 1978 and continued his gruesome killing spree for 13 years, until he was finally caught in 1991 when a potential victim managed to escape and lead police to his Milwaukee, Wisconsin apartment. He not only murdered his victims, but also engaged in acts of pedophilia, necrophilia, cannibalism, and preservation of body parts. In his apartment, authorities discovered graphic evidence of his heinous crimes, including dismembered body parts and photos of mutilated corpses. He even had a vat of acid he used to dispose of victims. In all, Dahmer killed 17 people, mostly young men of color. He was imprisoned twice, once for molestation and later for murder, before being brutally killed by another inmate, Christopher Scarver, in 1994, because of Dahmer's murders of black males. He was calm and honest during the interview, and his story became extremely popular. It was made into a Netflix series and a book, and many people have talked about his crime on social media. Dr. Harold Shipman, also known as Dr. Death, with 218 probable murders, and possibly as many as 250. This doctor practiced in London, and between 1972 and 1998, worked in 2 different offices, killing all the while. Shipman's modus operandi involved injecting his victims with lethal doses of diamorphine, a powerful painkiller, and then falsifying medical records to cover up his crimes. He was eventually caught after a series of suspicious deaths in the community led to an investigation. His motives were unclear. Some speculated that Shipman may have been seeking to avenge the death of his mother, while others suggested that he thought he was practicing euthanasia, removing from the population older people who might otherwise have become a burden to the healthcare system. In 2000, Shipman was convicted of 15 counts of murder and 1 count of forgery and was sentenced to life in prison. He committed suicide in his cell in 2004, one day before his 58th birthday. John Wayne Gacy was a construction worker, politician, and birthday party clown. But behind the facade of his outgoing suburban neighbor image lurked a monster. In 1978, suspicions surrounding Gacy grew when a 15-year-old boy disappeared after being last seen with him. Families of other missing boys had previously pointed fingers at Gacy, but it wasn't until then that authorities took them seriously. A search warrant of Gacy's home revealed the horrific truth: nearly 30 bodies buried in a 4-foot crawl space underneath. Gacy was convicted of 33 counts of murder, as well as counts of rape and torture. He was executed by lethal injection in 1994. H.E.H. Holmes was one of Chicago's most infamous killers, a pharmacist who converted a hotel into a nightmare torture castle. In preparation for the 1893 World's Fair, Holmes moved to Chicago and transformed a 3-story hotel into a labyrinth of horrors. Gas lines, secret passages, trapdoors, and chutes to the basement were just a few of the fiendish contraptions he installed. His guests would be knocked out by gas before Holmes subjected them to unspeakable acts of torture on his surgical tables. He would then burn the bodies in the furnace, while selling their skeletons to medical schools and running life insurance scams. Holmes eventually confessed to over 30 murders, but only after a fellow scammer turned him in for falling short on a financial agreement. He was hanged in 1896, but the terror he inflicted on his victims will never be forgotten. Pedro Lopez, also known as the Monster of the Andes, was a notorious Colombian serial killer who claimed to have murdered over 300 young girls across South America in the 1970s and 1980s. Born in 1948 in Santa Isabel, Colombia, Lopez was one of 13 children and was reportedly abused by his mother at a young age. He ran away from home when he was 8 years old and was taken in by a man who raped him repeatedly. Lopez later said that this experience warped his sexuality and led him to become a predator himself. Lopez was first arrested in 1973 for kidnapping and assaulting a young girl in Ecuador. He was sentenced to prison, but was released in 1994 for good behavior. However, he was soon arrested again in Peru for the murder of 3 young girls. Lopez confessed to the murders and claimed to have killed hundreds more across Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia. Ted Bundy was an American serial killer who is believed to have murdered at least 30 young women and girls during the 1970s. Bundy was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, and grew up in a middle-class family in Tacoma, Washington. Bundy was known for his good looks and charismatic personality, which he used to gain the trust of his victims. He would often lure them into his car, where he would then sexually assault and murder them. Bundy was extremely cunning and managed to avoid capture for several years, even while actively committing these horrific crimes. Bundy's crimes came to an end in 1975 when he was arrested for the kidnapping of Carol Duranch. He was eventually linked to several murders through dental impressions and other evidence, and was found guilty of multiple counts of murder and sentenced to death. Bundy spent years appealing his conviction and sentence, but was ultimately executed by electric chair on January 24, 1989.
Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comment if you think these serial killers are crazy. Do you know more about them? Like and subscribe to our videos if you want to have more content video like this. See you and have a sweet dreams.